Sige.
This week's episode in the DarkRoom podcast presents Unsolved Cold Cases. We'll be talking about the unknown boy in the box.
It was in February of 1957 that a man checking masked rat traps in the woods of Susquehanna Road in Fox Chase, Philadelphia, made a horrific discovery. The corpse of a young child discarded in a cardboard box, cast aside amongst the rusting appliances and garbage. He didn't report the discovery, fearing the police reaction to his massacre trapping. Days later, a passing LaSalle College student saw a rabbit in an area. Knowing there was traps, followed. While he too was reluctant to approach the police, he finally reported the discovery of the following day. Police would later discover he was a peeping Tom who was often to be found spying on young women at Good Shepherd School of Wayward Girls. The coroner's report makes that grim reading, with one seasoned captain said to have been sick at the scene. So
That was kagad? Nahanap kagad nila yun.
dire-diretso.
Dire-diretso.
Wala tayong background talaga dun sa ano yung nangyari. Just after na nung na-discover
During
siya.
investigation.
Na-discovery na kaagad.
So yun nga two people na ang nakakita dito sa
Corpse.
corpse ng isang bata. One
Na
is
safe to assume na medyo matagal na siyang nagstay doon. Since then, nung na-discover siya nung first guy, which was the one who reported, I think, dun sa mga police.
Hindi siya kasi
Bawal
yung mascot.
Hindi pa open season.
Oo.
Sa
I think nakita lang niya tapos pinabayaan lang niya kasi tatanungin siya baka.
Or maybe
Parang lang, inaano niya lang.
baka makagawa lang ng naka-issue.
Tapos itong dalawa sila actually na mga sus na sas. Yung kasi yung isang student pala siya naninilip siya sa kalapit na school ng all girls school. So parang hindi nila pareho silang ayaw nilang mag-report
kasi may mga shady silang pinagagawaan.
Tapos yun nga, ano bang yung nakita nila?
So ayun. Ito na yung the discovery na age somewhere between 4 and 5 and 6. The boy was 40 inches tall and weighed just 30 pounds. So napaka
bata
pa talaga na. He was of a fair complexion, had blue eyes, light brown hair that had been cut crudely, possibly post-mortem, given clumps of hair that weren't on the body. There were existing surgical scars to the boy's ankle and groin, plus L-shaped scar under his chin. The bruises that covered his naked corpse and severe malnourishments suggested extensive abuse. The injuries had been long and sustained, covering much of his tiny frame, including his face. He died from massive head injuries. His body had been wrapped in a cheap rust and green-colored Indian patterned flannel blanket and placed inside a corrugated J.C. Penney's bassinet box. It was marked fragile, handled with care. While it was likely coincidence, the phrase seemed a mockery. So,
na medyo disturbing yung
kinahinat niya
ng bata.
So, napakabata, like as mentioned, 4 to 6 years old lang.
Wala pang kamuwang-muwang sa mundo
Tapos aside from that is that meron din siyang mga sustained wounds and also yung state ng katawan niya is
very sickly. I think during
matagal siguro siyang
ina-abuse
or matagal siyang captured or in
or parang inaalipusta kayo ganun. So nakakaano dito kasi marami na siyang injury na naktamo nung nabubuhay pa siya.
Yeah.
So,
at also yung
I think
severely malnourished kasi for a boy to be just 30 pounds as mentioned pa nga is very light dun sa I think sa sa tamang typical sa
age nila,
suggested weight
tama ba? ng
isang bata
bracket na ganyan kasi 30 pounds is almost lang
lang yun, like
1 kilo is 2.5 pounds, so parang 15 hindi, almost 10 kilos lang.
Napaka
hindi naman 10,
more 16
kanyan,
16 nga around that time.
So siya, so
maybe
baby yung niya, yung
hindi siya pinapakain.
Hindi siya pinapakain. Or baka rin lumait na yung niya, yung bigat niya kasi
I think so kasi pag medyo tumatagal yung body natin na decomposing is mas lumalaki yung katawan.
Lumalaki ba?
Kasi as you die, I'm not saying you. As a person die, medyo siya, parang nagpo-produce ng mga gas sa katawan. So kaya parang medyo bloated yung
tsaka bumibigat, parang ganun. Okay.
Lalo na pag hindi talaga hindi siya dito properly handled sa mga patay, parang ganun.
Or baka
so it also suggests na hindi siguro talaga to pinapakain ng batang to,
ina-abuse pala,
and maybe ilang days pa lang din siyang na nandun or what. So yeah. The Philadelphia police opened their investigation on February 26, 1957 and took the fingerprints of the boy, being confident that the case would be resolved quickly. While they had a little to go on beyond the box in which the remains were found, few believed that it likely that a missing boy could go unnoticed and unclaimed. A few featured prominently in a local media across Philadelphia into Delaware Valley, with the Philadelphia Inquirer printing 400,000 flyers with his likeness. So talaga yun, nag-effort talaga yung mga police para malaman kung sino yung nito.
Sino yung
kaninong anak to.
Kaninong anak
para ma-identify lang. The images were posted across the area and included with every gas bill sent in receipt. Newspapers quickly dubbed that the victim was the boy in the box. So yun, actually yung mga tawag ng mga ganito is usually yung yung media talaga nagpapangalan sa kanila, tapos nagsistick na lang sa tawag dito sa public, or yun na lang yung nagiging
parang binibigyan ng screen name, parang
so the chop lady or what.
Tapos yung yung napansin ko dito yung every gas bill na nakalagay nilalagay yung mukha niyo, parang di ba merong yun sa kanila sa Amerika, yung mga nasa milk carton, yung ba parang have you seen this child nasa gatas. I think dito sa time nila parang mga gas bill ngayon, mga yung mga
syempre nakakaisip din sila ng mga ideas kung paano to ma-identify. Syempre madami nagpapagas ganun. So
I think na tumutulong siya.
Yun. The police visited every children's home, foster home, and hospital in the area, ensuring that every child was accounted for. The scene of the final was scored by 270 police recruits to ensure that no one could have been missed. The discovery of a man's blue Ivy League corduroy cup and a child's scarf and a man's white handkerchief with the letter G in the corner. They received tips that inquiries from concerned parents across the country, all wondering if the boy might be their missing child. The wealth of the information seemingly produced hundreds of
Tantalizing.
tantalizing points of interest. Uh, that was until the trial went cold and the leads vanished into cold winter air. So meron quoted from isang Philadelphia police officer, I think. It was first figured that the boy's family would come forward, say that his death was an accident and offer some sort of explanation. But that didn't happen. Days and weeks passed and still he wasn't identified. Unquote. So yun. So parang sa simula lang din merong nakukuhang mga leads yung mga mga
yun
police
nga,
officers.
sabi nga nila madali daw lang yung investigation na to kasi I think parang lang nila, uy baka may naghahanap na parents, kaso wala. So,
meron naman
merong mga parents na may nawawala.
Uso kasi yan sa like sa abroad, like yung mga naglalayas ng mga, lalo sa Amerika. Oo, parang uso sa kanila yung magbalayas, ganyan.
Tsaka
pero
ang dami rin nila
of his age is very unlikely
na maglayas. Maybe baka may kumuha, yun nga yun.
Yeah, or maybe he's in some kind of foam something for children's like we don't know. Yeah.
So parang naubos yata yung nila, yung leads nila kasi I think very exhausting yung investigations especially na parang meron silang ini-investigate na specific, pero itong ibang mga missing na children parang inaano rin nila parang ini-entertain na nila kasi nahanap nila yung batang to, tapos merong darating, meron yung anak namin nawawala, tas baka
tsaka hindi naman lang yung yun lang yung yung inaasikaso ng mga police, like everyday may mga sorts of like parang ganung mga problems na. So that also made the investigation kinda difficult na rin of some sort. So,
especially na walang may nagka-come forward.
Wala pang nag-identify dun sa bata. Until nga umabot sa point na wala nang ilang days and weeks na rin yung nag-pass.
Walang may nagpo-forward.
Yeah. The police tracked down the origin of the bassinet box to Upper Darby J.C. Penny, discovering that only 11 had been sold at $7.50 a piece. Ano yung bassinet? Yun yung para sa
box
baby.
Siya na, nga, pero
baby, yung
style niya, I think, yung
basket.
Basket na nakaganyan, tapos yung open nasa taas.
Mm-hmm.
Parang ganun.
In a fantastic piece of detective work for the age, they managed to track down 9 of the 11 purchases, discovering differing accounts state that there were 12 sold and all but one was traced. Unfortunately, all those identified were dismissed as suspects. So too, the blue cap was found to be a dead end, with the Robbins Bald Eagle Hat and Cap Company having no records of any note. So yun, sa maliliit na lang talaga sila ng mga leads nagre-rely kahit dun sa box, ganun kahit nga dun sa hat, sa cup na nila ginamit, hinahanapan din nila ng relation dun sa case, which
kasi nakita din within the vicinity ng bata. So I think tinitingnan kagaya ng nung sa last episode ng sa Tigaya. Check out nyo yung latest episode na out na last week. Pero out na last week.
Last week.
Ano nyo na
last week ba?
Oo, last week yun. Last week na send yun ngayon this is Friday, then last week Friday yung sa Tagawa yung sa Tagaya yung
Is that future Cardo talking to us?
Yung Ito nga, yung kagaya doon sa last
Well,
episode.
actually, ganun din naman talaga.
Even the
And
simplest,
investigation will always start dun sa vicinity nung nung murder,
Crime scene.
ng crime scene. So, syempre lahat ng makikita nila doon is they will
Iimbestigahan
try
nila.
to link it dun sa sa if may ba yun? May
connection.
relationship ba or what?
Yun nga nahanap nila yung yung 11.
Well, yung talaga nila is dito is yung box na nakita nila.
Nakita.
Yun yung pinaka main talaga nilang
Kasi
main na tawag dito na lead. Yun talaga yung main lead nila. Pero what if kung nakita niya lang yun dun sa parang trash
naiwan lang niya tapos
sa mga
nagkataon lang na yung bumili hindi na niya nagamit tapos siya na yung killer na yung kumuha tapos nagamit niya dun sa bata. So
yeah.
Hindi natin
No relative, neighbor, friend or acquaintance of the boy ever came forward. It was as if he had never existed at all. The boy was buried in Potter's Field in a far corner in northeast Philadelphia. Inscribed with his headstone were the words, "Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy." The case may have ended there, one of the 1,000 cold cases resting in the files never to be opened again. However, brutality of the killing inflicted on such a defenseless child profoundly affected many of those working in the case. Four in particular would take up the mantle. Fingerprint expert William Kelly, Remington Bristow, an investigator with the Medical Examiner Office, Joseph McGillen, an investigator with the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office, and Sam Weinstein, a former detective and the second police to arrive at the scene in 1957. So yun, well, yung mga ganitong mga instances is we could also say na yung mga police officers is sometimes nagiging invested din sila sa mga ganitong bagay.
Siyempre yan yung trabaho nila
Ito dito, that ilang oras yung ginugugol nila dito sa mga ganitong instances.
Investigation.
Tapos syempre that isa lang din yung ibig sabihin doon. Yung parang ka din,
yung
na-attach.
Feeling na gusto mo siyang ma-solve.
Lalo na yung
malaman kung ano nangyari dito, anong nangyari sa kanya, sino yung gumawa nun. Parang nakakaano rin yan parang naging obsessive ka rin yan.
Oo. Like dun sa bagong, previously na napanood ko na series, yung docu-series, mini docu-series sa Netflix, yung The Sons of Sam. Yun yung parang ganun din na nangyari. Though hindi siya talaga police, he's an investigative journalist. Naging siya, ginugol niya talaga yung life niya para ma-solve or yung nangyayari at noong time na yun. May mga ganung mga tao may mga ganung tawag dito.
Tapos parang
hindi sila nagsesettle
sa
mga ganun lang. Pag wala na yan, parang ganun.
Kasi ang naman kasi, parang sa pride rin nila yan Siyempre trabaho ko to tapos parang yan ito yung trabaho ko pag na kailangan mahanap ko yung nito. Yung answer. Tsaka hindi na parang kasi mahirap kasi siyang iwan kasi alam mong yung victim yung istorya.
Aside from
hindi mo alam yung istorya ng victim. Hindi mo alam yung istorya kung bakit nangyari pero alam mo kung ano yung nangyari sa victim.
Lalo na yung the manner ng pagkamatay.
Siya.
Tapos it was just an innocent child tapos ganun yung mangyayari sa kanya. Knowing that walang taong nag-claim sa kanya tapos ganun.
Walang may naghahanap tapos
sino kaya to?
Wala silang may mapuntuhan na
sino kaya yung kamag-anak ng batang to? Or maybe yung kamag-anak niya yung pumatay. Hindi lang siya hindi talaga kaya sila hindi
Hindi sila
Hindi nila kine-claim yung bata.
Oo nga eh. Parang
So,
merong
madami din yung ano, circumstantial ano.
yun nga ano lang kasi tsaka ano parang very traumatic na makakita ka ng ganito sa sa career mo na line of work na
Tsaka ano, parang I think ano yun sa isang officer eh. Like meron kang isang case like yung ano sa Brooklyn, 'di ba si ano, meron siyang case na
si Captain
si
Holt.
Captain Holt na meron siyang isang case na hindi hindi niya nasosolve.
Tapos meron siya ano parang yung parang maliit na calling card. Yun lang hindi niya natulungan. Parang ganun. Tapos na-obsess siya na palagi niya yung bakit hindi niya na-solve yung case na yun. Tapos na-solve lang, mabilis lang na-solve ng team niya.
Yan.
Pero yun, parang merong emotion, merong
Connection.
Merong mental drain sa mga investigators.
Well, syempre, ikaw ba naman spending more time pa sa mga bagay na yun, lalo na sa mga police, like syempre gini-give up nila yung time nila sa family nila, ganyan, so personal time, ganyan, para lang mahanap yung mga ganyan. So yun, going back, Bristow spent countless hours, yun sa na-mention pa lang natin, pouring over the matter in his free time, spending thousands of dollars. Yun, aside from time is also money din, kasi yung resources na ginagamit.
I think hindi basta na bigyan na ng yung parang I think ito na case closed na, case unsolved na siya sa police station nila, pero yung mga personnel parang hindi pa tumitigil, kaya nagagamit na nila yung personal money nila. So, yeah. Sa regard ito, naubos na yung pera ni Agent Bristow.
Yan, dedicated himself to the case until he died in 1993. His workspace was covered in the photos from dump site alongside newspaper clippings, both new and old. He was searching for that one clue that might point him into the right track. One thing missed in 1957.
Baka meron silang hindi nakita. Ano yung nakita nila?
And I quote, Grim Bristow was single-handedly responsible for keeping the case in the public's eye. Unquote from this one from former colleague si Joseph McKillen. Bristow's favored the theory that the child had been at foster home in 25 miles from where the boy's remains were found. Owned by the Nicolette family, the home had been dismissed in 1957 after the police found all the children were accounted for. When some are quick to dismiss the theory as it originated with parang may nakita pa.
Psychic.
May psychic pa silang there is some circumstantial evidence that backs the Bristow's idea. The family that ran the home consisted of Arthur and Catherine Nicoletti and Catherine's daughter from previous marriage, Anna Marie Eagle. There was gossip that Anna Marie had a developmental disability, with men seemingly taking advantage of her. She had already given birth to 4 children out of wedlock, a situation that society frowned upon in the 1950s. 3 of those babies were sadly stillborn, while tragedy took the 4th following an electrical accident on the department store amusement ride in 1955. Attending the estate sale at the home in 1961, when the Nicolettis moved, Bristow's discovered a bassinet similar to the one sold at JCPenney, with blankets hanging on the washing line also appearing identical to the one that the boy in the box was found. Arthur Nicoletti was interviewed by the police in 1984, yielding no information. He refused Bristow's demand for a lie detector test. So medyo, eto na. I think isa tong isa sa mga theory na come
Yung
up niya.
parang pinakamalapit na. Yung pinaka
Well,
ni Bristow.
Maraming circumstantial evidence na nakita si Bristow that might point the Nicoletti's somewhat responsible
dito sa
sa nangyari.
Oh.
Nicoletti would go on to marry his own stepdaughter Anna Marie after the death of his wife in Bristol. Believed she was the true mother of the boy in the box. Investigators in 1957 were only looking to ensure children enlisted at the home were also present and correct, never thinking that the child may in fact have been Anna Marie's. So medyo compelling na
yung kanyang
itong account na to. Kasi hindi nga naman nila, I mean magma-match nga naman yung number ng mga
bata.
Yung mga orphans dun
kasi
sa home
tinatanong
nila.
lang nila baka merong meron ba kayong may nawawalang bata ba dyan? Wala kasi kompleto. Pero baka hindi itong boy in the box hindi siya hindi siya sinulat dun sa
baka hindi siya isusulat kasi nga anak siya ni Anna Marie. Yun yung malaking paalaisipan doon, which
I think lahat yata ng mga hinanapan nilang foster homes, children homes, parang yun rin yung investigative na nila.
Kaya nga malaki kasi yung malaki yung chances na baka nandun nga nakatira siya sa isang foster home. Kasi nga if nawala lang to, if he's been kidnapped or what, syempre may mga taong maghahanap sa kanya. Since wala, so malaki yung chance na
relative
nandun nga siya sa foster home kaya walang naghahanap sa kanya, or baka nga by isa sa mga gumawa ng pagpatay sa kanya is someone sa bata is someone he knew, or as mentioned,
or someone who takes care of him, parang
yun. Yeah. However, while it might sound plausible on the surface, a bassinet and a blanket are not uncommon thing to find in a children's home. So, medyo tama nga. While Nicoletti's marriage to his stepdaughter is undoubtedly out of the norm, it is a leap to conclude he's morally descended to murder. Bill Kelly, with who Remington would often confer in the case, was similarly determined to get answers and likewise believed that the parent or guardian was responsible for the killing. So yun, tama nga, medyo nga dun
kasi
talaga
walang may nag-step up, walang may naghahanap sa bata, tapos
yet he dismissed the foster home theory considering his colleague had become too desperate to find a solution.
Parang nawawalan na sila ng leads na nagiging parang nagkakaroon na ng conflict of interest sa investigation. Parang teka lang.
In the 1960s, the duo had wondered about the lack of the vaccination. Tama ba? Vaccination scars in the boy. They speculated, kasi car lang yung nakakita, yung dito sa akin. May nablat yung kaya cars sa vaccination cars. Ano yun? They speculated that he had lived off the grid and perhaps belonged to a family of carnival workers. Speculation soon turned to the possibility that he had been a recent immigrant, with a newspaper sources revealing that there had been an influx of Hungarian refugees in 1956. The duo checked and had been an influx of the duo checked an amazing 11,200 passport photos. Despite believing that they have been identified, the boys threw a photo accompanying the media stories. The lead was again a dead end. the boy was very much alive. So yun, isa sa mga isa nga sa mga naging theories nila, ito yung the carnival people.
Tsaka yan, no? Merong
Or
mga,
mga
mga Hungarian refugees.
yung mga refugees, yung mga
mga immigrants. Syempre, undocumented pa. I think mostly ng mga dito, meron pang mga illegally na pumapasok sa US, tapos
illegal alien.
mga alien tapos
kasi nga if hindi ka talaga from sa tawag dito, citizen, is hindi ka makaka-avail ng mga vaccination na free, gano'n. So in a way, plausible din itong nakita nilang
theory,
sa ibang angle din sa Kelly would spend countless hours in hospital records departments and unheated warehouse, trawling through the thousands of maternity files to check the boy's footprints against records. In 1998, Kelly, McGillin, and Weinstein had all joined the Vidoc Society, set up in 1990 to further the resolution of long unsolved homicides. Weinstein joined after being informed that the boy in the box case was being presented in the society's next meeting. Kelly joined after seeing the TV presentation that focused on itself debunked the Hungarian angle. So yun. Medyo matagal din, no? From 1950s to
Parang
parang nabuhay yung
nabuhay ulit yung case nila.
Kasi may mga tawag dito parang yung mga ripologist.
Oo, yung
mga obsessed sa mga ganung mga bagay.
Baka lang meron silang baka kailangan nila kailangan lang
sometimes kasi you sometimes need fresh eyes sa mga ganitong bagay. Kasi if you're investigating na sa mga ganitong cases, is sometimes kung ano yung pinaniniwalaan mo, yun lang yung nakikita.
Parang nagkakaroon ng bias.
So hindi mo na sometimes na nai-entertain yung mga ganitong bagay kasi as you see, iba-iba yung nila, iba-iba yung kanilang mga angles na nakikita. So maybe ganon yung nangyayari, hindi natin alam.
Baka sa sobrang baka
sobrang mo na focus mo na dun sa sa
one thing. Baka etong si Bristo focus na lang siya sa mga house, children's house, mga foster home. Etong isa kaya I think kailangan etong dahil sumali sila dito kasi I think baka merong leader.
Maraming na ring na-solve na mga cases ng mga ganyan na hindi talaga yung
lead na primary investigators.
Oo, like sometimes pa nga is like yung mga lang talaga normal na mga tao lang. May napanood akong documentary sa Vice na I think he's one of the parang mga isang parang kilala masyadong kilala sa mga ganitong sa yung tawag dito mga civilian lang na nakasolve ng case. I don't know if napanood mo na yan. Tapos siya mismo yung gumawa ng parang isang group na para makatulong to solve mga cases na mga ganito.
Na parang ginagawa nilang public
tapos
case.
Before wala pa talagang
open case.
Wala pa silang mga dito, wala pang internet ganun. Tapos umabot sa time gumawa na siya ng sarili niyang page, ganun, website, para makakita kung merong mga taong nagbibigay ng mga input nila, ganun.
Parang nung sa Don't Fuck With Cats.
Parang ganun. Parang isang group of mga people na nagtutulungan to help kasi nga sometimes short-handed din yung mga yung mga police, wala rin sila magagawa sa mga ganung bagay. Well, any help will always be beneficial sa mga
I think yung mga mga inano nila, 'di ba, yung ano, yung mga tapos, mga unsolved na talaga na mga
Mga unsolved cases talaga yung inaano
kasi I
nila.
think parang hindi naman yata ano, yung mga present, I think hindi naman yata pinapalabas lahat ng evidence
Yeah.
sa media. So I think yung mga matatagal na, sobrang tagal na yan, mga pwede nang iano, yung mga pwede nang ipakita kasi yung mga undergoing na mga investigation, I think hindi yan lahat ng details sinasabi sa media eh.
Yeah, meron may
I think
mga-
yung mga ano nila, yung mga ano na no, yung,
sa ano lang talaga, sa court lang nilalabas.
oh,
Yan. Over 2 years of correspondence. Asan na ba
the
ako?
trio.
Saan ba ako? Sorry naman. Ayan. The trio set to work knocking on doors and posting flyers, reopening their own investigation into the case. They successfully ensured that the remains of the boy were exhumed for DNA testing, something unavailable in 1957. After the exhumation, they also ensured that the remains were removed from the now saan ba ako? Derelict Potter's Field and given a fresh reburial at Ivy Hill Cemetery. Ay naman pagpindot ang cards. Kalma, relax. Ayan, ano. In 2002, a new lead emerged when a woman identified only as Martha made a startling claim that he had witnessed the entire murder and dumping of the body. Tangina na yung mga kamisayan nito.
May mga miming sa labas nag-aaway ah.
Calling from Ohio, a psychiatrist traveled to Philadelphia PD that one of his patients had asked him to call the police after reporting a murder, the boy in the box. After 2 years of correspondence, utilizing the psychiatrist as the intermediary, Martha claimed he had grown up in Lower Marion.
Lower Marion. The number 13 pick goes to Lower Kobe Bryant
From Lower Marion.
High School.
Yan.
Kobe Bryant.
As only a child, being regularly sexually abused by her mother. When she was 10, she accompanied her in a trip to a neighborhood she didn't recognize. There, Martha witnessed her mother hand over an envelope to a man to purchase a toddler. Once home, she shut the boy in the basement and never allowed him to leave the house. The basement was filled with trash with only a drain for her bathroom. Martha says that he never spoke and she believed he had been intellectually challenged. He would go hungry and was also regularly abused by her mother. The child's name was Jonathan. After Jonathan vomited up the plate of beans, Martha's mother exploded in rage, dragging him upstairs, causing the bruising to his legs, and throwing him into the bathtub. She beat him and smashed his head on the tiles as Martha watched from the toilet. The scream of the boy was the only sound Martha had ever heard him make. After he was dead, Martha's mother would cut Jonathan's hair to ensure the police didn't recognize he'd been kept as a prisoner. Her mother would then pack her into their car and went to find a suitable spot to dump Jonathan's body. A confidential witness at the time of the murder,
So,
the so-called Good Samaritan, stated that he had spoken to a woman and a child near the scene. He added that the boy had been placed in a box previously discarded at the site. Not brought there in the way. Martha told the same story. May nagka-claim.
may nagclaim, few years, parang matanda na yata tong si Martha.
Around mga na rin. Nasa
60s, 70s. Kasi 2002 siya nag-report. I think, parang...
So, ito yung the M theory, tama?
yung M Martha.
The Martha theory.
Who is your mother? Why did you say Martha?
So medyo ano lang to, ikaw,
Very detailed yung ano niya.
very detailed yung ano.
Very
Well, ano din, kasi
siya?
for sure, the case was also very, publicized nung time na yon. So, if it's not that impossible to know
Na meron.
yung detail ng case,
Oo.
di ba? So,
Kasi bata pa siya.
pwede rin natin,
Masyadong bata pa tong si Martha during 1957.
medyo may ano din siya, may saltik din sa utak eh.
Oo.
Mention pa nga dito. She's into psychiatric treatment. Tama ba? Tama, di ba? So, yun. Baka na-obsessed lang siya dun sa and then she made up yung mga stories na yun. What?
Pero kasi meron kasing nakakita ng merong witness.
Kasi for sure nakasulat din yun dun sa sa mga writings or clippings na
Merong
dun sa
nakikita.
case na dun for the investigation
Hindi
this
kasi
time.
merong confidential witness.
Baka question din ng taga media or what. Hindi natin alam. Kasi nga for sure this is very publicized that time. So the records and the kung ano yung mga nangyari is also nasa public records. So
Pero very detailed yung ano niya eh.
Alam mo
very
naman yung
detailed.
mga saltik. Baka hindi sa sobrang kasaltikan siguro niya, hindi niya nakagawa na siya ng senaryo dun sa Uy, baka nanay ko yun. Ganon.
Pero
Or maybe
baka lang.
baka nga
Tama
tama yung tawag dito, yung mga nangyari.
Ito,
diba?
meron sila.
Saan ako na?
Si Kelly.
Kelly and McGillen attempted to verify as much of Martha's story as possible, with skeptics questioning the validity and the account given her story of mental illness. They confirmed that the route she described from her former home in Lower Merion and the dump site was totally correct. They re-interviewed the Good Samaritan. So ito I think this is yung
confidential witness.
A former college roommate of Martha confirmed that she had once said her mother was a murderer. The autopsy revealed that the baked beans were in the stomach of the child, and the condition of the finger suggested that he had been partially submerged in water.
Uy.
Yun.
May mga suggested na mga
evidence na medyo nakakatulong dun sa claims ng Importantly, Martha's psychologist believes that Martha's experience was a real one. Her story never changing once during the treatment. While nobody in the neighborhood remembers the boy, they are unlikely to have done so if he'd been a prisoner for the entire time. So, however,
siyempre walang may makakaano.
Kasi nga wala din naman siyang record, walang nakitang mga vaccination, ganun. So like kagaya nung isang case from Australia, I think medyo sikat din tong yun mention ko sa'yo dati, yung anak niya tinago niya doon sa basement nila.
Tapos
yung tatay niya, tapos binuntis niya yung anak niya. Tapos na tinago lang yung bata. Tapos yung anak niya na babae until nagkaroon sila ng mga anak
doon sa ilalim
ng bahay nila.
I think
and then na-mention ko na ata sa'yo dati.
Nangyari na yan sa sa ibang mga
palabas.
Parang
pero I think
siya yata na-derive.
Na-mention ko na to sa'yo before, parang ganun. So yung nangyari is that tawag dito, naka-lock up lang sila talaga dun sa basement ng bahay nila. Without no one knowing na doon sila. Kahit nga yung parents niya, yung mama niya, yung mga kapatid niya, hindi nila alam.
Yung inakala nila nawala.
Nawala talaga siyang bata or she ran away, ganun. akala nila umalis lang siya tapos ganun naglayas or what. Tapos hindi nila alam tinago pala siya ng tatay niya. I mean his biological father under the basement dun sa bahay nila. Tapos his father also abused her tapos until nagkaroon sila ng mga anak. Hindi ko lang sure kung ilang yung mga anak nila. Pero nagkaroon sila ng mga anak. Tapos yung ginagawa ng tatay niya is tawag dito. Very hindi na to kasama dito sa pinag-usapan natin. Pero pupunta ako dun sa tawag dito, sa medyo parehas na nangyari. Tawag dito. So yun, dun lang pinapanganak yung anak niya, yung mga anak niya nung babae. Tapos parang siya lang yung nagpapaanak sa sarili niya.
Dun sa yung anak, yung nawawalang bata.
Yung anak niya mismo yung babae. So pangalanan natin si Maria ganun. Si Maria nanganganak na siya dun sa bahay nila. I mean sa ilalim ng bahay nila. Tapos I think yung ginagawa ng tatay niya pag medyo malaki na yung anak nila, iniiwan niya dun sa sa front ng bahay nila. Na parang tawag dito, parang pinapa-adapt na nilalagay dun sa front ng bahay nila. So inaalagaan talaga nila kasi parang dito may nag-iwan ng bata ganyan until umabot sa point na may yung isang anak niya is parang nagkaroon ng napaka-grabing sakit na kailangan talaga ng medical attention. Tapos pumayag yung tatay ni Maria na dalhin yung anak niya sa hospital. Tapos nang dinala sa hospital, wala silang nakita. Parehas dito yung mga vaccination, ganyan. Tapos wala siyang record of na pinanganak sa ganyan. So yun. Baka ganito yung nangyari din sa kanya na pinanganak tapos tinago lang somewhere tapos ganun. If totoo man na pinagbenta to sa mother ni Martha, is parang ganun siguro yung nangyari.
Hindi siya registered.
Yeah. Sana ako na.
However,
the Philadelphia PD disagrees. Noting the most of the significant points of the tale are matters of the public record, and no way of checking the validity of the rest. With neither Martha nor her mother being blood relatives, DNA is useless. The name Jonathan was a little use and may not have been the boy's name when handed over. The willingness of the establishment to disregard Martha's story as a hoax through her mental illness frustrated Kelly and the other investigators. Giving her years of abuse and being a potential witness to horrific murder, her troubles are all too understandable. Sadly, this is not unique to the boy in the box case, with the victims frequently dismissed as being an unsound mind. Tama ba? Victims, allowing the abusers and even murderers to walk free from justice. So ito from isa sa mga from Kelly himself, quoting, she had more to lose than to gain. This woman had a good job, a PhD. It wasn't like she was some loony. She sat across the desk looking for any telltale signs of deception, and we saw none. She was an articulate, very literate, and unbelievable. End quote.
Teka lang, so PhD.
So PhD to si Martha.
Tapos parang
Tapos lang nila, hindi lang nila dinidisregard lang kasi nga meron na siyang mental illness. Meron na siyang mental illness na. So in a way, parang maano ko din naman yung point ng mga police kasi ganyan. Dahil sa
mental illness niya, baka
kagaya
nakita niya lang niya lang sa somewhere.
Tapos sinakala niyang ganun.
Yun pala yun.
Depende siguro sa severity nung case.
Kasi bakit sobrang tagal na niya hindi sinabi?
Wala doon.
Parang lang yata.
In-mention niya naman sa isang roommate niya dati.
Parang roommate niya lang.
My mother was a fucking killer.
I think parang wala pa siyang wala pa siyang.
So for you, ano yung mas compelling na sa mga
ito kasi meron na siyang merong merong mga kumo-connect na ano. Pero kasi sobrang tagal na ng ano bago mag-come forward. So I think nagkakaroon na rin to ng ano nagkakaroon na ng parang i-compare talaga to sa mga evidence na nakalap ng authorities during this time.
Tsaka mostly talaga sa mga ganitong cases, if matagal na, I mean hindi ka agad nasa-solve, it always led to not being solved talaga sa mga ganitong kasi first is like the evidences na available that time. The evidence is not that good, you can even use DNA, tapos dito ganito na, so ano pa yung mako-correlate mo dun sa mga na-collect, ganyan.
Tapos sa bagong information naman.
Sa mga information sa mga ganito. So sometimes if wala talagang nangyayari during the
actual investigation.
Bago pa lang yung cases. Yun talaga I think is the most crucial talaga na na stage. Ganun. Ay tama ba?
Kasi kung kahit na tumagal yung basta merong concrete na investigation during yung fresh pa yung krimen, kahit anong tagal pa ng investigation, ilang years, tapos merong dumating na bagong information, I think kung mako-correlate mo kagad dun ito parang nagkaroon yata ng misinformation, or hindi nila na correlate yung evidence na binigay ni Martha despite sa sa mental illness niya, tapos doon sa mga nakalap nilang information during sa investigation. I think yun yung parang nagkakaiba yata yung nila yung
actually ganun din naman kasi madami talaga silang i-entertain ng mga angles sa mga ganitong mga, it could be this one, it could be that one. So medyo mahirap. Hindi natin mabe-blame yung muna sa mga police. I think for sure the police officers did their job naman. Medyo mahirap lang talaga sa circumstance na to. Kasi yun lang naman yung nakita nila like the body ganito. Tapos wala na. Tapos yung mga ibang mga I think wala lang talaga silang lead. Nawalan lang talaga sila ng lead ganun. Tapos very unfortunate. So yan. While investigators believed that the solution to the case had been found, they were still determined to put their conclusion beyond any doubt. Quote pa nga ni William Kelly, I'll be working the case as long as I'm physically able. I just wish I had another 50 years to keep doing so. So yun, medyo din talaga to. I think mahirap to sa mga investigators talaga na they poured their time and effort para ma-solve din yung mga ganitong mga cases. Kasi for sure isa to sa mga cases sa life nila na hindi nila makakalimutan. So yun. Sam Weinstein passed away in 2004 after a lengthy illness. William H. Kelly died in 2014 at the age of 86, and Joseph McKillen passed away in 2015 of a congestive heart failure. He was 89. They never stopped in their search for the truth. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children says that there are between 1,000 to 1,200 unidentified dead children across the United States at any given time. Just like Jonathan, yun the name of the bata, they are abused, cast aside, treated as refuse. And Barstow and Kelly believe they owed it to the boy in the box to finally put a name in his headstone. To do so, these innumerable other victims deserve justice. The legacy of Caleb and Barstow and all those involved should serve as an inspiration. So,
ilang
ayun no,
taon
isa pa nga to sa
hanggang mamatay sila, hinahanap pa rin nila yung yung sagot.
Tsaka yung at least malaman mo lang yung name niya, malagay sa and so.
I think parang
Actually, isa to sa
respects na lang.
na-mention ko sa iyo kanina, yung yung isang investigative report, journalist. I mean, yung isa sa mga nagsimula talaga yung hindi sila kasama sa case, pero yun yung nag-lead for him to pursue kasi yung I think yung nangyari nun is merong isang girl na nakita somewhere dun sa place nila na may nakalagay na 10th girl, parang ganun, tapos nilibing siya na John Doe o walang pangalan, ganun lang, tapos headstone, tapos ganun, tapos nag-struck talaga yun sa mind niya until hindi niya tinigilan until ma-identify kung sino man yung babae na yun. Well, ganun, na-solve din ata yung case. Hindi ko lang maalala. Napanood ko lang sa Vice. Panoorin niyo na lang.
Parang na lang to parang yung I think yun na ginagawa nila is something na parang paying respects na lang dun sa namatay. Na kahit hindi namin nahahanap yung nangyari sa'yo, at least mabigyan ka lang ng pangalan or just to pay respects, parang just to ease their mind naman na at least ginawa nila yung makakaya nila dun para dun sa namatay. Etong si boy.
The boy in the box, perhaps Jonathan, sits astride through worlds. The one of American innocence and our more modern brutal world. Maybe it exposes the truth that the innocence never really existed at all. The case is a tale that leads readers to question their fellow human being. When where a small child, seemingly abused throughout his life, is discarded as if they had been worth no more than the garbage strewn all around. All life that apparently went unmissed, with nobody to remember his all too brief existence. Yet, in the aftermath of this monstrous crime, we see the good in ourselves. We see the justice. We see individuals such as Bristos and Cali, determined in their quest for truth and justice, determined to be the one who remember. While we may never hold a concrete answer to the mystery, let us all ensure that we remember the boy in the box. And this case might also still be unsolved for a long time until now. Medyo napaka-tragic for the boy and also for the
people
who poured themselves dun sa nangyari.
I think our topic today is not just about the gruesome crime parang inano rin natin dito
and how people behind sa mga ganitong mga circumstantial na mga nangyari is dinededicate nila yung time nila for
pouring their efforts para lang mahanap ko I think yun rin
magandang tawag dito. Maganda yung parang na pinakita nilang dedication sa itong mga investigators
during their deathbed, parang yun rin yung
who was the boy in the box?
Who is Martha? Say her name. Martha.
Martha bitch.
So that was
the boy in the box episode natin na featured in this week's episode. So medyo talaga natin dito. Siguro sa series na to is makikita talaga natin on how dedicated and how people would always look for justice para sa mga though it may take
years,
almost
effort,
yung
financial.
life pa nga nila.
Oo.
Na-mention pa nga na sa ni Kelly na he would be grateful for another 50 years para lang
ma-uncover yun.
ma-solve. Grabe naman dedication yun.
Oo.
Like,
I think parang hindi mawawala sa isipan mo as an investigator. Kaya maganda yung episode natin yan kasi it tells us na hindi lang
puro murders.
Hindi lang yung buhay ng victim yung nawala. I mean, hindi lang, pati rin yung yung buhay ng mga investigators pouring their hearts out just to solve and give justice to the victims.
Yeah. Medyo have you experienced some instances na meron kang gustong maalala tapos di mo maalala?
Oh.
Ganong kati sa ulo. Like
sobrang
hindi ka makatulog. Shit, ano ba to? Like ganito, hindi ka na lang kaya sa kanila. Like siguro some of them also suffered from divorce kasi nga siguro mas pinipili nila yung trabaho nila over sa kanilang family, personal ganito
yung
ganyan.
Health nila. That's
very tawag dito,
depressing. Tsaka
pero
very unfortunate syempre.
So yun, that was the episode guys, the Boy in the Box episode natin for this week's episode.
How do you like
How do you find our episode guys? Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Did you or did you not enjoy it? So then, as I always reminder everybody, follow us on our Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, lahat na lang ng bagay, Apple Podcast, kahit saan pa yan. And also subscribe sa YouTube channel natin guys. If you didn't know, itong episode na to is also available with audio and video format. Makikita nyo rin lahat ng episodes ng The DarkRoom Podcast sa YouTube as well. So yun, hopefully na-enjoy nyo nga itong episode na to. And also sa mga actually we're shooting this on ano nga ngayon, 21. So
uy, ba't mo sinabi?
kasi ay shoutout natin yung mga yung mga bagong radiographer natin na pumasa.
Ayun,
if lumabas yung natin, lumabas yung result today. This is
today or tomorrow or mamaya.
Or mamayang gabi, we don't know. Pero
shoutout sa mga congratulations. Congratulations.
Belated kasi late na to mapapanood niyo. Sa mga ratik na kayo that time. This is advance. Yan. So, hopefully madami pumasa. And also, sa mga nag-top, very good naman tayo dyan mga moms, mga sir. Sa mga pumasa, very good pa rin tayo kahit pasado lang. Hindi na kailangan ng sobra.
And those
sa mga unfortunate hindi pumasa, huwag kayong mawalan ng pag-asa guys.
Meron pang next year.
Meron pa naman next year.
Hindi, merong December.
Yeah, December, yeah.
Merong December.
Hopefully, pumasa na kayo, wag lang kayo mawalan ng pag-asa.
Learn, add it to experience. Naka-feel na kayo ng board exam. Parang pagbalik nyo sa ikalawa, hindi ka na matatakot.
Before lang yung level up, may mga malilit na experience muna yan. Nakita mo ba yung anong metaphor yung ginamit ko doon?
Oo.
From level up lang, mahilig mga maglaro dyan. Sometimes maliliit lang
grind.
Maliliit lang na XP yung kailangan mo para lumevel up. But still, level up is level up. It don't matter kung kailan. Basta, hindi kayo nag-stop.
Gaano katagal.
So yun,
don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up. This has been, kami nga, walang nanonood sa amin, di kami nag-give up.
Yun
So yun, this has been the podcast everybody. Hopefully na-enjoy nyo itong episode na to. Yun, as always remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel and also sa mga platforms na available yung podcast natin. This has been your host, I'm Marky.
I'm Rick.
The DarkRoom Podcast.